Good day, good people. Today we're going to service this 2014 VW Polo Vivo Max 1.6 hatchback, and the service could also apply to your car depending on where your components are found, obviously. Please work on a warm to cold engine. Hot engines have a tendency of burning skin off. You will need your spark plugs, your oil filter, as well as your fuel filter, your cabin filter, your air filter, and lastly your oil. Let's practice getting OEM kit as well as parts. You'll thank me later. Right, your toolbox should be nearby. And then we're going to start off with loosening the oil filter. If it's too tight, you can always get yourself an oil filter remover that is specific for your car. You will then unscrew or pry out your ignition coils depending on how your engine is set up. For you to fit and get access to your oil sump, you will need to do this. Now that you have access, it is time to remove that sump plug. And as we can see, I am not using the recommended tool, but then again, use what works for you. If you would notice, my sump plug is not the one that originally came with the car. So what happened was I noticed an oil leak coming from the sump, and I decided to tighten it a bit too tight, and the threads got chewed up, and I had to weld a bolt and nut. Of course, the sump was removed from the car, or else it was going to be a huge disaster. So yeah, that's why. As the oil drains, loosen but do not remove the oil filter. Now let's pull out those ignition coils to gain access to the spark plugs. Let's remember to be gentle, as these things could cost you a small fortune if one of them breaks due to your mishandlement, if that is a word. Your appropriate socket size to remove your spark plugs. If you have some tweezers or something of this nature, you can use it to pull out your spark plugs, provided that your socket is not magnetic. If one of your spark plugs is giving you trouble, continue with the rest, and once you are done, you go back to the previous step. Now that all your spark plugs are out, it is time to put in new ones. And remember, OEM is the way. And there is a saying that goes, if you can't afford the parts, you can't afford the car. Now it is time to check the old and the new. If it's too long or too short, there's going to be trouble. Unless you know what you're doing, please do not power wash your engine. You know what happens when water gets into those tight areas, which messes up how your engine operates. So unless you know what you're doing, you can power wash your engine. If not, then you can use a brush and a hoover to clean your engine, as well as a wet cloth. Just in case you've forgotten, the wires connecting the ignition coils will tell you where each ignition coil is supposed to go to. The length of the wires will tell you if there is no order in which your ignition coils came out. That snapping sound is the sound that you are looking for when you put back your ignition coils. With the spark plugs done and secured, it's time to work on the air filter. Right, so this is where you decide to take out your old air filter, work it, put it back, or just put a new one in. My advice is follow the manufacturer's recommendations. Just in case this is too much for you to remember all the parts that need to be bought, all you have to do is just go to your local spares shop and ask them for a service kit. And some will require your vehicle identification number so that they don't get the parts wrong. Nice and snug is the way to go. With the air filter in, now it's time to go back to our oil filter. Now we can replace our oil filter with our brand new one. Just to reiterate the manufacturer's recommendations. Lubricating your oil filter gasket with your fresh new oil will make it easy for you to remove your oil filter the next time you do your service. Please double check if your old oil filter didn't leave behind its gasket, because having a double gasket oil filter is just a sign of trouble. And seeing that my oil filter is right on top of my belt, you can see that trouble would be looming. Nice and snug, good people. We're not trying to win who's got the tightest oil filter in the world. Our oil must be drained by now, so it's time to put back the sump plug. And remember, clean your sump plug for any debris. You don't want to have an issue with your threads, good people. Let us clean up our sump of any leaks so that we don't confuse ourselves in future thinking that we might have an oil leak where else we don't have such. Be mindful of the threads as you tighten your sump plug. Nice and snug. My engine takes 3.5 liters of oil, so please go through your manual before you overfill or underfill your engine. Open your oil filler cap and gently pour in your oil. Slow and steady is the way. With the recommended liters of oil in, make sure that you secure your oil filler cap and then keep yourself busy whilst the oil settles. Now that the oil has settled, it is time to check the oil level. As you can see, everything is going according to plan. The manufacturer's recommendations are always spot on. Now it is time to replace the fuel filter. Due to the nature of my setup, I cannot film underneath my car, but then I'll show you where the fuel filter fits. You might need to check up your car in order for you to have a clear access of your fuel filter. And remember, safety first. With the fuel filter in, it's time to work on the cabin filter. Out with the old and in with the new. And now we have arrived at the last step, resetting the service indicator. Yes, that spanner. Remove the key from the ignition. Press and hold the knob. Put back the key in the ignition and turn it on. Please do not start the car. Release the knob and turn it to your right until the spanner is removed. There you go. You are done. Mission complete. VWs with petrol engines tend to sound like tractors or diesel engines when they are cold, so don't mind the sound. It will go away as soon as the engine is warm. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment. And don't forget to share.